Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. Today we're going to continue speculating about the Beastmen through our Missing Character series, where we'll discuss their lore, the rules on the tabletop, and how they could be translated into Total War Warhammer, where today's character is Ghorros Warhoof. So without further ado, let's begin. To better introduce this character to those who are not aware of him, we'll read over his entry into the Warhammer Fantasy Battles 7th edition army book for the Beastmen. Ghorros Warhoof, sire of 1,000 young. Ghorros Warhoof is a gnarled, ancient centaur who is forever fighting, rutting, or getting drunk. His unnaturally long life has spanned many centuries, and he has slaughtered his way through countless wars without succumbing to his injuries. Not a single minute of his impressive lifespan has been spent idle, for the Warhoof is possessed with an unholy vitality, a virile and boundless energy that is matched only by the depths of his carnal urges. Amongst the strongest of these is a lust for violence and battle. It is a rare moon indeed that does not see Ghorros go to war. It is commonly said that Ghorros Warhoof is the father of 1,000 young, and yet that still does not do his exploits justice. A menagerie of twisted terrors that cover the old world from one end to the other share his bloodline. Ghorros frequently boasts about his adventures. Indeed, it is very difficult to get him to stop. Amongst his many claims is the fathering of the entire centaur race. He maintains that every one of that mismatched and drunken clan can be traced back to his lineage. Few have the nerve to gainsay him, for in his cups the Warhoof has a terrible and violent temper, and he is rarely sober. None can deny that Ghorros has a great number of centaur sons and acolytes, all fanatically devoted to their gnarled but undeniably potent leader. He gallops into battle surrounded by the largest and most fearsome of his four-legged progeny, and every one of them would readily give their lives for the sake of their infamous sire. But it is not just centaur that owe a familial debt to Ghorros, for he is anything but discerning. Amongst his hordes come all manner of nameless beasts and half-breeds, and regardless of their size, barbarism, or ferocity, they all pay respect to the Warhoof when he is nearby. An army blessed by the leadership of the Warhoof is strong indeed, for his presence unites the disparate creatures of the Dark Woods on a disparate and primal level. Ghorros was quite popular because his lore was quite ridiculous, even by Warhammer Fantasy Battle standards. That's not to say that he wasn't a decent character on the tabletop, boasting some pretty good stats in all honesty: high weapon strength, high skill, and a large amount of attacks. His high movement made him quite useful, but did make him a target for less experienced players. The character itself also had a few interesting special rules and magical items. Let's begin with the special rules. The first being Sons of Ghorros, where if Ghorros was attached to a unit of centaurs, then those centaurs would have an extra +1 weapon skill. And it would also allow for the other centaurs to perform a Lookout Sir. Now, the Lookout Sir special rule from the tabletop does not exist in Total War Warhammer, and there is already a regiment of renown known as Sons of Ghorros. But the benefit of the original rule could still be applied with a different name, where melee attack damage could be bolstered for any centaurs recruited by Ghorros' army. I'm assuming that this would also be paired with upkeep reduction for centaurs, as it does make sense for Ghorros specifically. His other special rule was Father of Beasts, which actually was really interesting and goes as follows. Almost every tribe or warband in the shadow of the Middle Mountains contains a few dozen of Ghorros' many thousand relatives, and he is something of a legend amongst his people. Should Ghorros be killed, all Beastmen units in the army receive a +1 bonus to their leadership when taking Primal Fury tests. Why was this rule interesting? Well, it's only because it's a benefit that applies only when your character has been killed. It was one of those rare circumstances when something like this would appear. As it works in Total War, when your general gets killed, the rest of your army will receive a negative to their leadership, where I'm assuming if Ghorros was to be implemented and this rule was also implemented, maybe that could be negated. It might not seem like much, but that means that you can throw your character into combat without worrying about him dying and then affecting the rest of your army. As this is of course very situational, perhaps this rule could also grant a baseline leadership bonus to all Centaurs. This, alongside the other benefits, would more or less focus the player towards a Centaur based army, at least with Ghorros. In regards to special items, Ghorros had two, the first being Man Smasher, which increased his damage output. There's nothing too special regarding that. The second, however, was the Skull of the Unicorn Lord, which bestowed magic resistance to Ghorros, but should you be using Ghorros against any Wood Elves, then the Wood Elves would automatically have the Hatred special rule against him. The way this could be implemented is that as soon as he unlocks this item, it could be done in such a way where the Wood Elves would now dislike you even further than they already do, potentially leading them to declare war on you and send some armies to hunt you down. Now, in regards to Ghorros, if he should be a lord or a hero, I honestly think that he should be a legendary lord choice. He was one of those rare few Beastmen characters that weren't the basic bipedal Ghors. A cavalry-focused Beastmen horde would make a lot of sense thematically, though sieges of course would be rather difficult. Though that being said, because of the character's lore, there is a lot of potential to make him quite interesting in Total War Warhammer. As he is known as the sire of 1,000 young, it could be expected that he would have a very high horde growth ratio. And should a Centaur generic lord be added in, those would also have faster growth than the standard Ghors. His love of alcohol could also be transformed into some sort of mechanic, where maybe every few turns or so, there could be a chance to have a pop-up event, which would then decide how drunk or sober the character actually is, with each possible option having both negatives and positives, an identical take of that of the current Beastmen Dark Moon mechanic, which I'm assuming will eventually get removed when a Beastmen rework is finally launched, as it's not really that useful, is it? Don't get me wrong, it does have its benefits and so on, but it really doesn't feel like a core mechanic for a specific race. Maybe if it was specifically tied to a character like Ghorros, then yes, that works very well, but it just doesn't feel like something that should affect a race as a whole. I personally really like this character, but I don't think that he would be the main focus between a DLC of, say, maybe a possible Dark Elf vs Beastmen DLC. If anything, I'd see this character being implemented as the usual FLC Lord that normally launches around the DLC. Of course, I could be wrong, but it just feels like maybe Taurox the Brass Bull and Ghorros being released in the same patch cycle makes a lot of sense. Maybe I'm just being a bit too greedy here. They're both quite popular characters and I would like to see them both implemented in the future. But what do you guys think about Ghorros Warhoof as a possible DLC or FLC character in a possibly upcoming Beastmen DLC? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.